Live.
Well, we're back for this one, and it's just still as disheartening as halftime. Tulane beats USF 45-14, and it was out of hand before it was even 1 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah. It was not as close as the final score indicates, and the final score is not very close.
No. It was a complete demolition, just curb stomp effort by the Tulane Green Wave. Shout out to them. I think they need to go drinking before the game every game. I think they really need to lean into being in New Orleans and just, I mean, if you just play drunk at all times, you'll usually get used to it, right? I mean, you lose your inhibitions when you're drunk, so why not? Go for it.
Yeah, it was they feel no pain, right? Pain tolerance goes down, right? So yeah, 500 yards allowed again. That's about
150 yards more than Tulane came in averaging.
That's the 6th time this year giving up over 500 yards.
8.5 yards per play defensively, 16.4 yards per completion. I feel like that's a first down. Am I accurate in that?
Almost. That's almost an explosive pass every time you complete a pass. It's not great.
The Bulls just Joe. I don't know. What are you going to get from Glenn Spencer in 6 days that you are hoping that hasn't come for the first 11 weeks of the year? Like, what could be different?
I think at this point, I don't think it'll be different either way. You could fire him, you could keep him for this season. Nothing's going to change in a week. Nothing would have changed if they fired him last week. There's more. The problems go deeper, but that is definitely a problem. There's no sugarcoating it. Even Jeff Scott, I think he tried to be as diplomatic as possible in the postgame, but the truth came out. and I think even if he didn't want it to, talking about the defense, he's thought they'd played a little bit better the last couple of weeks, and he said we haven't played that bad all year at times. So I think even he kind of feels that this defense is having some trouble. So
I mean,
there's not much to say on that side of the ball, I don't think.
Michael Pratt, who I love.
He was the Michael Pratt you envisioned. Unfortunately, hadn't been that all year, but today he was.
And just absolutely shredded this defense. The running game shredded this defense. Just complete annihilation from start to finish. I guess from the 13-minute mark of the first quarter to the end of the game, it was just a complete domination of this team who we all expected to show progress, and they were showing progress and showing signs of life. And then you get a game that is on paper very, very winnable, and you absolutely shit the bed and piss down your leg for 3 hours.
It was a total, and the sad part is it's a total. You basically erased, and you can just, if you're not sure about this, just look on Twitter. You basically erased almost all the goodwill you built up this year, all the goodwill you built up the last couple of weeks playing these tough opponents tight, or tighter than expected. All that's kind of out the window now. People are very upset, and I think you definitely have the right to be after this performance. You are not playing a juggernaut team. This is a bad Tulane team. that's had a bad year, hasn't been able to do much offensively, wasn't great on either side of the ball, and then it's not a great result here.
You knew it from the moment the clock hit 0 at halftime that Tulane was going to park the bus, and they did that exact same thing. And Jeff Scott luckily didn't say it post game and said, "Well, we only held them to 10 points in the second half." He knew what Tulane did. He knew that it had nothing to do with his defense because they were still getting shredded.
It really felt like they could have named a score, and so these yardage totals are pretty, out there as is, but this is definitely a case where they took their foot off the pedal. You felt like they could have named a score and a yardage if they wanted to. So we have one more ready to join us here.
Mr. Colin Sherwin, how are you doing today?
Hi, kids. Colin Sherwin, DraftKings Nation. Listen, I'm pissed off.
It was bad.
It was pretty bad.
The only thing that I want, and not just because I bet on USF, the only thing that I wanted to see today was continual improvement. And this was such a massive regression on both sides of the ball. Like, that's the thing. If it was the defense just shitting the bed, we go, well, they don't have any good players. They don't tackle, and they're coached really badly.
Yeah.
Okay. But my problem is that, yes, the offense made mistakes, but then as soon as they saw that they were out of the game, they kind of quit. And
and we talked about this at halftime. I didn't think they had a great plan on offense today. Coach Scott mentioned in his press conference on Tuesday that this is a team that likes to play a lot of press man. They didn't do much of anything that took advantage of that, in my opinion. And that's what you're going to get. That's going to make the run game tougher. The speed option stuff early helped, but there was not a ton of motion, misdirection, snapping the ball with the guys in motion coming across, like that kind of stuff that can give press man coverage some problems. It has not been it's not been great. I think McClain has kind of saved them at times during the year. Today he wasn't able to, and I thought he didn't play his best game of the year. But Coach Scott mentioned after the game there were guys running wrong routes, and that's something we don't really know being on the outside. So it was a total destruction on both sides of the ball, which is really and Colin, what do you think about this? We were kind of talking. This seems to have wiped away all the goodwill you've built up throughout the year.
No, it absolutely has, and that's the problem is that you did a nice job of like showing some moderate improvement, and then you just gave it all back today. And let's assume that this rolls over into 6 days from now. Well, you're still in the same boat. Okay,
now you're going back.
My friend Richard Johnson from SI has said a really great quote, which is, coaching gets done after the script is gone. So it's like those first 15 plays are scripted, and that's to show you what kind of looks you're going to get today, what kind of matchups are working for you. You're sort of putting that script in not only to gain yardage, but to also see what else you can do throughout the rest of the game. And my problem is once they got off that script, and that first drive was glorious, but like after that, once the adjustments had to be made, and you're playing out of a hole because, Timmy made a bad throw over the middle, and then you have a fumble, and these things build on themselves. I get it. But like, they did not do anything to counter what was being done to them. And this is not you're not playing Bama. You're playing a 1-9 team. I mean, they're a little better defensively than they are offensively, but it's not like night and day out there. And that's my problem is that they did not show any adjustments, any improvement.
Well, to that point,
I'm going to say this, and then I want to hear everything you have to say, Seth, because you're way smarter about this shit than I'll ever be. Tackling, we know it's an issue, okay? But how much of it is just we're not hitting in practice? We have how much of it is poorly taught technique or non-taught technique? And how much is it we just ain't got no dudes?
Yeah, I think to your point about the offense, the real frustrating part is I don't think Tulane really did much different. It's not like they changed what they did after the first drive.
Right.
So what you had planned should have been planned for that, because that's Coach Scott mentioned on Tuesday. They've gone to playing a lot of press man. where's the rubs? Where's this kind of? They tried some switch releases and stuff at the line of scrimmage, but where's just if they're going to play press man, put Jimmy Horn outside and take a shot. Like, where's just that? Yeah. That's the most simple football you could do. That's Pop Warner. Hey, I got a really good player. He's really fast. Can you cover him one-on-one down the field? They didn't. They took like a couple shots in this game, which if you're playing tight press man-to-man coverage, you've got to back those guys off by taking shots down the field, protected shots. They did not do. And then I thought Timmy didn't play his best game. He made the wrong read a couple of times in RPO. They got him popped. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, early there were times where you had guys in position to make tackles and they didn't. But there was a lot of times where, and I said this you missed halftime call, and I said, even if the quarterback was drunk from the night before, if all three guys he sees are open, that's fine. Just throw it to one of them. So that's the bigger issue, I think, is there were guys just running wide open. There's no real plan, I don't think, when movement happens, when they trade, when they move the tight end and fullback in trade, or tight end H-back in trade. There's nobody left on the edge. Tulane didn't even take advantage of it. They could have. When there's motion, there's no adjustment in coverage, really. There's some bad stuff happening, but there's also times where guys are in position to make plays and don't. So it's kind of I'd say probably like a 70-30, 60-40. But not everything's going to get changed in a week. We said this earlier, if you fired Glenn Spencer tomorrow, do they play much better? You might get a dead cat bounce, but these are going to be problems that have to be addressed in the offseason, I think, mostly.
Yeah, I'm not even worried about next week. Like, it is what it is. It's going to happen. They're going to play a football game. We're probably going to lose. Okay, fine. But like you said, the lack of adjustment. Now, like, I can see two eyes that we don't have the depth, the skill and the speed in the secondary to cover people. Like, and I know they have injuries back there, and I can understand that. And you can only scheme that up so much because there is clearly not much talent back there. Okay, that's fine. But my bigger issue is that we have seen the tackling just continue to not improve. Like, if you have one bad game and you can't tackle, a lot of times you see coaches go, look at what Navy did last year. Remember that first Navy game that we bet on, Seth, earlier last year in 2020? And then we found out. I'll
never forget it.
They'll never. And then we found out Navy wasn't tackling in practice because of COVID. So we're like, Oh God, what did we do? So
I will never bet it. I don't know if I'll ever bet a Navy game again, at least early in the season.
It was the first game of the year, and then the broadcasters are like, "Well, Navy didn't tackle in practice." We're like, "Oh, well, that's going to be a problem." Yeah. So,
and BYU has a great offensive line, likes to run a lot of outside zone. Awesome.
Yeah, it's great. So we lost. But the spectacularly. But as the season went on, they eventually figured out how to tackle. Why is USF still putting, like you said, sometimes guys are in position. Why is that halfback shedding two guys before he gets brought down by a pile of four DBs 10 yards downfield? Why does that continually happen? What is the problem here? Is it talent, or is this something that is not being coached? Is this technique that's not being coached?
I don't know. I think one, and Daniel does have a good point I want to touch on here in a second. It's a question I've been asking to some of the recruiting people. But to that point, like, is it a talent issue? I don't know. The team you mentioned, Navy, are they more talented than USF on defense?
No, but they tackle better.
That's what I'm saying. Like, is it?
Yeah.
So that's kind of one thing we've been going through this year as we try to decide, is it coaching? Is it players? Is it what's the problem? I think it's could be a bit of both, but you could obviously be better on that side of the ball, I think, just if scheme is better. And my example is Navy. Navy holds Tulsa to like 300 yards of offense. Tulsa comes into Tampa, rolls up almost rolls over 500, I think. So that kind of difference is I think a coaching thing. It seems like, because I don't think anybody would say that Navy's got better talent, better skill guys than USF. And to that point, though, Daniel brings up an interesting point, and it's something I've asked Will Turner about. They brought in a bunch of young guys at defensive back. Why have we not seen any of those guys this year? The red, they're not their red. It's not like their red shirt is up. Why not throw those guys out there and give them a chance? Because it's not really working. That's the understatement of the year.
Yeah. It's not working. You just lost by 39 or 29 to a team that had not scored 14 points.
31.
31? Yeah, my math is bad. Sorry. You lost by 31 to a team that hadn't scored 14 points in 3 weeks. Like
the under hit.
That's amazing. That is amazing. The Tulane gives up 45 and you still make the under. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And it was 35-0 after the first. It was 35 after the first quarter. Wow. That's such a bad beat if you had the over.
98% of the money was on the under, I think.
Gambling.
Tough racket.
Tough racket, let me tell you.
Nate, what do you know? Have you heard anything about the young DBs? Because that is something all the transfer portal guys have seen the field, besides being barring injury.
They must, if the guys playing on the field right now are ready, then the guys not playing and are not traveling to road games like Gabe Neely, the other freshmen that are coming in who are, liking tweets throughout the game, then they must really not be ready. That walk-ons like Isaiah Cromartie, Josh Green, those guys are getting extended looks. No. It could be a talent evaluating thing, and we talked about it after the Houston game about how Nathaniel Dell was supposed to be a bull, and the powers that be that are actually still at USF said no.
Powers that still be.
The powers that still be in the talent evaluation portion of USF said no, he was too small. And I think he caught a touchdown. They played yesterday, right?
Yeah, they played last night.
I think he caught a touchdown and had 80 yards.
I believe he's the leading receiver on the top 25 team.
But he was too small for USF.
So I think all the guys they brought in had I think there could be something to them not wanting to put them out. I feel like they're putting them out too early. They don't have success, and it's discouraging. But at this point, there's not much, what is success at this point? I mean, comparatively, I think it'd be good to let those guys go out there and get their feet wet, understand how it is. I mean, I don't even think a lot of those guys are playing on special teams. That could be a spot you get them in and let those young guys play. So, the lack of depth, the consistent talk about lack of depth, I'm interested to see why some of these younger guys that they felt pretty good about in the recruiting aren't playing at all. So that is also one of my questions. I know Daniel's asked that a couple of times in the chat. I think it's a relevant question, but I haven't really seen a real answer on it yet. But
it seems to be a bit of both, right? And God bless him. He's not. He got thrown into the fire this year after Will Jones went down, but Matt Hill hasn't gotten better. So it's got to be a bit of both at this point, right? Like it's okay. You're bringing this guy in to play DB, and he hasn't really played DB at all. And now you have a full season with him, and he's still making the same mistakes. Is it him? Is it coaching? Is it not getting?
And if it's him, which I'd give him the benefit of the doubt, if it is him, then if a guy consistently doesn't do what he's coached to do, put somebody else there. It's typically how it goes.
But then there's no one. You're bringing in a walk-on.
Well, maybe he's doing what he's coached to do.
Yeah,
he's one of the guys that gets in position a lot just because he's not quite finishing. One of the early touchdowns, he flies down, looks like he's going to make the play for like a 1-yard gain and just misses the tackle. So, it's unfortunately, it's not just one thing, but I think a lot of the issues will be addressed in the offseason by way of staff turnover and a little bit of roster turnover as well. But I know you wanted to talk about just kind of I think, we're all you want to talk kind of about the defense over the season, not just today. This is not kind of a one-game thing. This is this is throughout the season, and we were talking about yards per play.
So
all right column there.
3 times this season, USF has held their opponents to under 6 yards per play. One of them was against FAMU. Another one was in a torrential downpour at ECU. And then, SMU kind of pulled off at toward the end there, and then still won by double digits. Still won by 24. And it really hasn't gotten better. I mean, you thought, dang, 9.94 yards at Houston. That's got to be the worst it can get. And God bless Central Florida if they can top that.
So SP Plus is opponent adjusted too. USF entered today at 116 out of 130 defensively. They're going 120. They're going to be a bottom 10 team after this week.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, this is just an abomination. Like, it's so frustrating too, because I felt like they had finally built, for the first time under Jeff Scott, a smidge of momentum. What did that say? USF defense worse than Nate's internet. Oh yeah, that's wow, harsh and fair.
Very fair.
So
I don't know if it's.
But I am just beyond frustrated, because how are you going to sell season tickets? How are you going to get money for a facility? You're trying to build a stadium now? You're going to build a stadium and you tell people to watch that team play and tell them the stadium's going to fix that problem. Come on, man. Like, that's the problem, is they had finally built a little bit of momentum into this offseason. Like, hey, maybe these guys know what they're doing, and this team got better as the season went on. And if you spit that out the last 2 weeks, you got 8 months that you're sitting on it, that you're not building momentum for the program long term. I'm not asking for conference championships next year, but I am asking to be like in some sort of bowl game mix.
Yeah.
Show some improvement in the recruiting stats. Do some things positively. And this is a fundraising gig at this point. So we got a new president and same AD. And you're going to be using that to try and build momentum for something, and you're just shitting all over yourself in a game that you absolutely could win. That your coach said before the week, as a Tulane grad texted me during the game, where was that quote from Scott?
It was something to the effect of, if you're making progress, if this is a team that's making progress, this is definitely a game you should go on the road and win. Something to that effect.
That is exactly what a Tulane graduate texted me during the game. This is a big one for us. Everybody feels internally that we're making some strides. We'll find out this week. This is a game you should be able to go out on the road and win. Okay. That's fine. Say it. I got no problem with that. You lose close, fine. You play hard, okay. Shit happens. It's football. Random, there's a lot of random here. Today wasn't random. Today was just dog shit coaching, performance, everything, blown momentum, going the wrong way. And it's not acceptable.
What this season does tell you about football, though, is you can, losses aren't totally equal. If you look at last year's team to this year's team, it feels totally different. I think in a lot of respects it is different. Today was more like a last year game. But to that, I think it's tough because the win-loss record has only improved slightly. I think there has been improvement. Obviously, with this performance this week, you put a lot of pressure on yourself next week, where maybe if you win this one, next week is kind of gravy. You get the 3. Next week would be gravy. If you come out and win that one, everyone will be happy. If it's close, then whatever. Now, to get yourself some positive momentum going to the offseason, you've got to come out and play really well next week, or it's going to be a really rough offseason.
Yeah, yep. Just get paved like this. Get paved like this next week. And Willie Taggart, second season, senior day, we got shut out. I was on the field for it. I remember. They
16-0.
Yeah. Didn't play very well. I think we used 3 quarterbacks that day in the first half, something like that. It was just, typical bullshit. And we didn't build a lot of momentum in that offseason. And then it took us the first half of year 3 until we get to the Syracuse double pass that turned everything. And so you're just losing time and you're losing momentum here. And that's my problem. And so, that's why this hurts a bit. It's not that you lost to Tulane. Shit's going to happen. It's how you lost to Tulane, and it's that you're not building momentum for the future. This is a rebuild job. And today we just knocked down a whole fuck ton of drywall, and for no reason, So, all right, I'm done. You guys are great. I love you. Go Tulsa minus 21.5. Bye.
So just looking at just kind of focusing on the defense here. Best performance against an FBS team this year is 5.48 yards per play. If you were to contextualize that or have that over a whole season, you would rank 60th in the country on defense. So your best performance of the year against an FBS team would get you to 60th, which is West Virginia, who's giving up 5.48 yards per play.
And you're probably 6-6? You think?
I mean, you'd be a lot better, but that's unfortunate. That's your best.
You play your best
you've played all year. Your best is 60th in the country, which is not great. Obviously, these are all.
And where does the Houston game rank? Give us a spectrum here.
9.9. That would be right. The worst right now is Arkansas State at 7.44. That's 130th. USF is 123rd at 7.00, soon to be higher after this game. So that's obviously an issue that's got to be fixed, I think, in recruiting and in some staff changes. That I just feel like sometimes even guys that aren't bad coaches, it just doesn't work, and you need a different voice. So it's not always that everyone that doesn't work out is a bad coach. Sometimes it doesn't work, not the right voice, players don't respond to it or aren't responding to it. For whatever reason, it's not working. That would lead me to believe you need to change the voice, right? Or you need to make some type of big philosophical change, which doesn't seem likely. So it's yeah, I don't know. I'm not real plugged in on recruiting. I don't know, Nate. I know I think their big focus seems to be junior college and transfers. I don't think they're really gonna get any. I know they got the kid from up near Orlando, right? Eddie Kelly? Yeah. He was a big get. I think is he a high 3-star or low 4-star kid?
Yeah, he's I think he's 0.85, 0.84 around there.
Yeah, that's a defensive end, I believe. Right, I know he's a defensive line. So I mean, they have that chance to come in and play, I believe, early, which I believe was one of the big selling points to him. They're not selling to anybody on defense. If you read any of the recruiting stuff, they're not selling. Come in here and learn the system, and you'll get your chance year 2. It is, you want to come in and play. We've got spots. So I think they know what the issues are, and I think Jeff Scott had a Freudian slip today. Regarding the defense. So I think they understand what the issues are, and they're going to work to fix them. It's hard to fix in the middle of the season. Yeah, I don't. According to Will Turner, Glenn Spencer is not.
He's not the magician
in anybody's recruitment. So,
except for maybe one guy.
Oh yeah, possibly one guy.
Maybe one guy. Maybe the parents are big fans of him.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
But I don't know. Go enjoy the rest of your Saturday, guys. This shit sucked. It was terrible. It was not fun from start to finish. This was fucking awful. Seriously, I felt like I was having deja vu watching the NC State game, and that's what it feels like. And we had a come to Jesus moment for just the university and athletic department as a whole, mostly the university after that NC State game, and started to see some things. But God, this was bad.
Yes, not great. I think they understand that, which is, and we'll see after this next week. after the season what kind of changes are made, but it appears that they understand that changes need to be made, and I'm sure they will make them because, as you can see here, there's not really been a high point on defense this year. Something's got to give. So,
nope. You know what, Larry? It would just make the moving process so much easier if they just like brought someone in while he was on the road and just cleared it out for him, and then just had it for him when they got back. Just like leave it outside the Selman Center for him, so he doesn't, because the key card's not going to work anymore. So I mean, how is he going to get in and get his stuff? So I agree. I think that's the play here, and I doubt there will be a staff shakeup with one game left. I think you'll see it.
No, I wouldn't. There's no point. It doesn't change anything. Unless you want to get one of these young guys play calling experience, but you can just do that and say, hey, Glenn, you're not calling plays this week.
Yeah. And I would say within the week after the season's over, you'll see the staff starting to shake up. Probably that Sunday. Well, I know it's like Black Monday for the NFL?
Yeah.
It could be like Black Sunday. Come what? The 28th, 27th, whatever day it is.
Yeah. And I think there's no reason to believe that this hasn't already been decided either.
Right.
There's also, I'm sure he's got language in his contract. I know he had language in terms of leaving, that his buyout in terms of leaving kind of was based upon completing seasons, I believe. Like if he leaves before the first season, if he leaves before the second season. So, I don't think taking JUCOs is bad in this situation. You need grown men to come in and play. So I think you got to supplement the recruiting at the high school level, but I think taking JUCOs in and guys that can come in and play is not a bad thing at this point. Get those guys in that can play, especially on the line of scrimmage, and then supplement it with recruit behind them at the high school level. I think that's a fine strategy when you're trying to rebuild kind of the talent level of the team.
Agreed. I'll search through my records and see if I have the.
Yeah, I read his buyout language. If he left, he would owe the university money. I think it was if he left before the first season, before the second season, before the third season. So I don't know if a termination is similar or if it's after the season, So we will see.
Oh, I just got it. Let's see. Let's see. It looks like it's.
So if you just joined us, Nate is pouring through
contract
that he got when he was hired through the Freedom of Information request, I believe.
So there's mitigated to offsets if he leaves on his own volition from between January 1, 2021 through the end of the year, December 31st. He would owe the school $200,000. I don't think anyone's going to be hiring him. I don't think we're going to have to worry about that per se.
No, I don't think. I would think that would be unlikely.
Let's see. For cause.
And I also don't think it would be likely that he would leave so he could, have to pay the school back. I don't think anybody's going to pay a buyout to give him on staff. I don't believe.
No.
Right.
Shout out to USF women's basketball absolutely trouncing Syracuse 77-53 in the game one of the battle for Atlantis. Looks like they made
a terrible 3-2 zone too.
No, just for some reason, like some of these schools, like some of the top ACC schools, just never have a like if they have a good women's team, the men's team's not good, or and vice versa. Like South Carolina's women's team is really good, South Carolina's men's team is not great.
Any while Nathan's pouring through this contract, any questions?
He gets a $6,000 monthly stipend for a car.
Oh baby.
He got a $20,000 moving and relocation assistance. Hopefully, he saved that so he could use it again. He gets a $10,000 bonus if they beat Central Florida.
They both, him and Weiss do. You ready for the trick plays?
Seriously, what are you driving for $6,000 a month? A tank? It
RV.
Could be a tank that provides defense, so it's definitely not that.
A recreational vehicle for long drives.
The clown car, maybe.
Okay, a couple of questions. Why do we football? It's the greatest game God has ever invented. Next question. What do you think we need to do to improve the passing game? I think there's some stuff schematically that can be done in the passing game. You don't really see a ton of guys. I think, and it could be because these past 2 years you've had a new system, limited quarterbacks, and then a freshman quarterback. So I don't know if they're limiting the passing game due to that, or this is just it. If this is it, they need to get a little more complex. I think in the passing game, it's pretty simple. There's not a ton to it.
Then you're Jeff Scott says today that there were guys running routes.
Yeah, there were guys running wrong. So maybe they're trying. So maybe they're trying to add layers to it, and it's not taking. So that is an issue. This one is probably better for Nate. How do you think getting more students to the game? I think just
be better.
Winning. I think winning is helpful, right?
No one's gonna drive 20 minutes for a bad team. That is the long and short of it.
Yeah.
Not Todd Grantham. Is Kirby Smart available?
I don't think so. I've seen the Verpale name thrown around a lot, right?
Yeah, Danny Verpale. He's the defense coordinator at Kennesaw State.
I know guys that coach with him. They say he's really good.
He coached under Kerwin Bell at Valdosta State when they won a national championship, D2 national championship.
Yeah. Yeah, from all I've heard is he is really good from a bunch of coaches that are really good. So if that was the hire, I think you'd probably be pretty happy. But I don't know. I'm not sure who they'd go after, that because you're kind of the pool. Yeah, I think to Larry's point.
Because they were good, Larry.
But yeah, that's like it's a chicken and egg. I think you have to be good, and then they'll come, right?
This ain't a field of dreams thing. If you build it, they still won't show up. Ask men's basketball.
Yeah,
there's a arena 150 feet away from their dorms. People aren't showing up because the team's bad.
Yeah.
So I
think if you're good,
you have to be good, and then people will show up.
Yeah. Good year. Yeah, I think Verpale's an interesting name. Because you're either going to have to hire. Right. Typically, you're going to have to hire a lower level defensive coordinator, most likely. You're going to have to promote from within the staff. If you move on from your defensive coordinator, you have to promote within the staff, which, I don't think would excite the fan base very much.
No.
We talked at halftime. It's not like we've seen one position group just totally come out and light it on fire. So you're going to have to, or you hire a lower level DC. So that the if is doing a lot of work there, or not having to do much work actually. If you'd hire a lower level DC or a position coach that has not coordinated the defense before, is kind of where you're at right now. I believe. I don't think this is a situation like up at Florida where, is Mullen going to get fired next year? Very likely if he doesn't get fired this year, if they don't do well. So it's kind of a 1-year thing, kind of like Kerwin coming in with Charlie Strong. That right. Kind of. I think Scott, if they show, I think they'll improve next year just because they do have a lot of young players.
Right.
And they're bringing in some good guys, some grown men on the defensive front, and they're bringing in some guys. But So I think they won't. I think that won't limit their candidate pool, but they're paying Spencer $500K. I think.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good. I think Georgia's co-defensive coordinator, just for reference, Glenn Schumann, who is a guy, a coach I talked to, wants to hire for Florida like crazy. He's their inside linebackers co-defense coordinator, Glenn Schumann. He makes $600K at Georgia. So $500K is not anything to sneeze at, I don't believe. So I think you could get some guys interested with that kind of compensation, but it may be lower level guys or that are calling defenses or assistants, and then it's still a crapshoot if you're pulling in assistants that have never called a defense before. So, but that's a hire you need to nail, and they have to be. Chances that non-senior players are not asked back. I mean, scholarships are 1-year propositions at most schools. There's some schools are changing it to making them 4-year propositions, but most places it's a 1-year, year-to-year thing. So I'm sure it seems to be everywhere you go. There's conversations that are had.
Yeah.
I think Danny Verpale, a guy with ties to the school that is probably making a lot less than $500K, I would imagine, at Kennesaw State. You could probably get him. I think he's a smart guy. Like I said, a lot of good coaches that I know that say he's awesome. Young guy. I think he's got passion for the university too, so he'd probably recruit pretty well. I don't think this isn't one of those situations, I think, where people are just calling for a guy because he has ties to the school. I think he's qualified as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. We're bumping up to the 45-minute mark, and we all know what happens when we get to the 45-minute mark and my internet decides to turn into a pumpkin. So let's wrap this up. We'll have more coverage throughout the week. I'm so fed up, and we'll keep it tuned in. I guess we'll have the podcast this week. We'll have the film room probably do it Monday, Tuesday, or something like that, just so we're kind of not bumping up against the holiday.
Yeah, that's true.
I think I'll be traveling Wednesday night. So, what that does mean, though, if I do travel and we do something on Wednesday night, I would have much better internet. So it's like, what do we do here? But probably Monday, Tuesday thing for the podcast in the film room. And
sorry, Larry, we have to watch it.
We're gonna have to hate watch it again. I sat in silence for
you don't have to, but that's where we take that pain on for you.
Yeah. We just pick out the worst parts so you don't have to watch all of the bad parts. So you're welcome for that. Again, Seth, thank you for everything you do and your perspective. And we'll see you guys this week. Go enjoy the rest of your weekend. You get a free Sunday with the Bucks playing on Monday night. Go have some fun. Enjoy the kids. Enjoy the family. Go drink. If you drink enough, you won't remember today. But drink responsibly. But also
drink whatever Tulane players drank last night.
Yeah, replicate that.
Peak performance the next day.
All right. Good night.
Go Bulls? Are you going to give a go Bulls now? Or are you still too upset?
Too upset. Not happening.
No Bulls. No Bulls.